It seems like such a long time ago when Netflix first became a thing, but it was 2015. I was having a couple of lunchtime beers with work colleagues in central London when one of the guys told me they were releasing Marvel's Daredevil. He said it looked awesome. Maybe it invoked painful memories of Ben Affleck and Jennifer Garner, but I wasn't exactly enthused by the prospect of a series about the visually challenged superhero. 2 weeks later, when I was laid up off work with the most brutal case of tonsillitis, thinking nothing could top the pain in my throat, I thought what the hell, and started watching Daredevil against my better judgment. I binged the whole series in a single day. Series 1 of Daredevil was fucking awesome. But then, what did Netflix do? They went and released Season 2, and that was even better. The addition of Jon Bernthal as the Punisher was a masterstroke. He was born to play that role. Before we knew it, Netflix had its own MCU. The first series of Luke Cage and Jessica Jones were great. I can't say I had a lot of love for the Defenders or Iron Fist, but they were at least mostly harmless. The Punisher spin-off couldn't fail to be awesome, with Bernthal resuming his role. But some of the episodes were just pure class, and among some of my favourites from any series. Then, Disney pulled the rug from under Netflix, and I thought,
oh, fuck.
When I heard that Disney were relaunching Daredevil, I was sceptical. After all, I've seen the demolition job Disney have done to Star Wars, Willow, Doctor Who, and Indiana Jones. And then I saw She-Hulk, and it seemed that everything was going to be worse than I could possibly imagine. Disney did what Kingpin and Bullseye could only dream of. They fucking killed Daredevil. Daredevil was officially dead. But then, like a phoenix rising from the ashes, there was hope. The trailer for Daredevil Born Again dropped, and it actually looked pretty good. There was a neat contest of verbal sparring between Matt Murdock and his nemesis Walter Fisk. We also got glimpses of the Punisher and White Tiger. There were gruesome leg breaks. It was also leaked that we were getting Muse, one of the most creepy and sadistic characters in the Marvel Universe. All of this led me to believe that Daredevil might continue where Netflix bowed out, down its dark and murky route. That Disney might not screw this up so badly as I thought. But I really should have known better, because Daredevil Born Again is an absolute fucking mess.
I am Jack's complete lack of surprise.
So where did it all go wrong? The first cracks started to appear in the first 5 minutes. The season opens with Matt Murdock and his chums heading to a bar in Hell's Kitchen. Foggy's client calls, saying he's in mortal danger. That prompts Matt to whip on the red suit, which immediately turns him into a really bad CGI pound shop version of Spider-Man. The special effects in this scene are fucking atrocious. It's been 33 years since Brandon Lee filmed a similar scene running across rooftops in The Crow. You'd think that the stunts or special effects would have improved during that time. Things did look up briefly, however, when Foggy took a bullet in the chest from Bullseye. That had me jumping out of my seat. From the original series, it's fair to say I never really warmed to Foggy or Karen. I found both of them pretty annoying, but Foggy was the absolute crowning turd in the water pipe, with his continual righteous, sanctimonious bleatings about morality. Just fuck off. So I was pretty happy when they killed him off, and although the Bullseye Daredevil fight was clumsy and badly choreographed, I did like the fact that Daredevil tossed him off the building, splattering him all over the pavement. Could it be that we were about to finally get an evil version of Daredevil in this series? The one who finally crossed the line, just as Frank Castle had predicted in Season 2 of the original Daredevil?
You know you're one bad day away from being me.
Nah, not a bit of it. This is now a Disney show after all. Instead of making this show darker, the attempted murder of Bullseye does the opposite. It turns Matt Murdock from a bone-breaking, ass-kicking vigilante into a whining, pathetic and annoying wuss who moans about his feelings and how bad things will happen if he dons the red spandex again. This boring impasse lasts for about 6 episodes, and after 2 episodes, I was seriously considering doing something else with my time, like watching the grass grow, or watching some paint dry. This is not Daredevil born again. This was Daredevil disappearing up his own arse. Meanwhile, we're introduced to some new and seriously irritating characters, the worst of which is the psychiatrist, Dr. Heather Glenn, who now Karen has fucked off, is Matt's new love interest. In the course of 3 episodes, they meet, forge a romance, and then move in together. By the middle of the series, they're living in each other's pockets and bickering like an old married couple. The relationship was massively rushed and very unconvincing. I know a passage of time is supposed to have gone past, but the series creators really didn't do a good job of letting us know how long this relationship has been going on for. Was it days? Was it months? To be honest, I don't really give a fuck. And then we get this plank randomly segued into the series. This guy really confused me. Why was he here? What purpose did he serve? I'm scratching my head because I just don't understand where he came from. Was this guy supposed to be in the original series? Because if he was, he didn't make a very good impression on me. It must have been a blink or you'll miss it cameo. Or maybe I was just drinking heavily and I forgot all about him.
Bloody fool, you should never mix your drinks.
Obviously I'm taking the piss. This guy is supposed to be a completely new character, but the show's writers seem determined to gaslight us into thinking that he was in the original series. Matt and Cherry share these cosy little scenes, hinting at the amazingly deep and shared history they have between them. But what fucking shared history? There is no shared history. Haven't the dickhead writers of this show heard of continuity? Don't you remember in episode 1, on the rooftop, when Cherry sees Daredevil without his mask for the first time, and he goes, "Matt?" in a high-pitched, surprised voice? He had absolutely no idea Daredevil was Matt, or vice versa. They have no shared history, yet their dialogue seems to suggest they were best buddies and fighting crime side by side. Both Heather and Cherry were so annoying, I actually found myself wishing that Karen and Foggy would come back. All is forgiven.
Please.
Another thing that sucked ass was the ham-handed way they randomly introduced the Punisher back into this series. The writers could have found a way of intricately weaving Frank Castle into the story, but why bother doing that when you can just have Matt Murdock sniff the air? Maybe Frank had had a particularly nasty curry and was letting off horrible farts that Matt could smell through concrete. Whatever it was especially convenient, as it enabled Matt to find Frank easily enough so he could pop in and have a nice little heart-to-heart with him. To be fair, the dialogue in this scene and the acting is really good. It reminded me of some of the back-and-forth banter we got in Series 2 of the Netflix Daredevil. But here, it was completely out of context. To me, it just seemed like a really random way for Disney to introduce the Punisher into the MCU. Frank Castle just seems to be hanging around, just so Matt can pop in and have a chat with him. He doesn't even seem concerned that Walter Fisk is becoming the mayor. He also seems ignorant to the disappearances and murders that Muse is committing. But I just couldn't work out who this scene was for. Was it for people who hadn't watched the original Netflix series or read the comics? If so, this scene would have confused the hell out of them, as they wouldn't know what these people were talking about. They wouldn't know who the Punisher was, and they wouldn't understand the complex relationship between Daredevil and the Punisher. And if, like me, you have read the comics and watched the Netflix series, then you just can't help but realise this scene is just massively out of context and very random. And while we're on the subject of random, why the fuck did they bother introducing Muse into this series? If you're going to introduce a bad guy, why not have a point? But that would just be too sensible. I was actually pretty psyched about the idea of introducing Muse into this series. In the comic book, he's a dark and edgy character. I was hoping the addition of a serial killer would be a welcome addition to the new spin-off. They could have made it a dark mystery, a Seven-like noir thriller where Matt Murdock investigates creepy disappearances, slowly building the suspense and atmosphere towards an inevitable confrontation with the mad genius responsible for all the disappearances. They also could have hidden Muse's horrific appearance until Daredevil actually tracked him down. That would have been way better than what we got, which was essentially a story arc which only exists purely to pull Daredevil out of retirement. A massive problem with this is that Muse's killing spree, where he kidnaps and liquefies hundreds of people, basically makes the two biggest vigilantes in the series look a bit useless. Matt doesn't seem bothered by the disappearances and never even mentions them. The Punisher doesn't give a shit either. He's just content to sit in his bunker, letting off curry farts and waiting for his mate to show up so they can engage in a deep and meaningful. The real hero of the series is the little girl who actually found Muse. She even gives Matt Murdock a little lecture about how fucking useless he is. They should give this little girl a spin-off. And no doubt, knowing Disney, they're probably considering it. Everything felt completely pointless when it came to Muse, and so random, like how for some reason he's completely obsessed with Matt's psychiatrist girlfriend. We don't even really find out why. He just turns up at a book signing, and then he's in her office, trying to make a Picasso out of her. This could have been fleshed out way more. And why was Muse so pathetically useless? He basically kills a bunch of people, then gets his arse tanned by Daredevil twice before getting his head blown off. In the comics, although Muse is not the most powerful villain in the Marvel Universe, he does have superhuman strength. He's able to crush Daredevil's billy club with his bare hands. He also has a unique ability which enables him to evade Daredevil's senses. Why did they just decide to make him some useless pop who just gets a good hiding? Why bother even putting him in it? They even made a mess of fan favourites who had been entertaining in the Netflix series. Bullseye is now completely useless. In Series 3, the bloke could slaughter hundreds of people with a paperclip, but now he can't even manage to kill one fat bloke with a sniper's rifle from an elevated position. The Punisher gets beaten up and kidnapped by a group of useless police officers. Is this the same guy who slaughtered his way through Russo's team of Special Forces bank robbers? Who took on a bar full of super assassins? And what did they do to Kingpin? They've turned him into some drooling whiner who keeps bleating on about his wife's infidelity. I mean, who really gives a toss? My overwhelming feeling after watching this series is that it was just pure, unadulterated boredom. Nothing really happens. It was more like a soap opera rather than a superhero series, with loads of characters whining about their feelings and their relationships. To be honest, I have zero excitement for the second instalment. The final scene certainly didn't inspire me. Matt Murdock walking into a bar full of his new allies who will lead the fight back against Kingpin and retake the city. I bet Thanos is glad he got wiped out by Iron Man, because the sight of these shining warriors would have had him running for cover. To be honest, I can't say I have any excitement to see how Part 2 plays out, and this series was so bad, I'm now genuinely concerned about the next iteration of the Punisher. In my opinion, this was not Daredevil born again, this was Daredevil dying the death of 1,000 deaths.